There are several different ways that users can use functions in Microsoft Excel. There's the Insert Function option that's right next to the Formula window. On the Formulas tab, there are several options on the ribbon. Or for those who are very familiar with formulas, users can simply type in the formula. In this first example, we're going to use the formula function. Let's say that we want to calculate a column of numbers. We will click in the next open cell below that column, and we'll click the Insert function. Now, while that is open, we can type in a function and search for it, or we can choose from some popular ones. We're going to choose a simple one this time. We're going to click on Sum, because we want to add all the numbers in the column. We click OK, and Excel is assuming the numbers we want to add. Each number is in a corresponding reference or cell. 45 is in A1, 100 is in A2, 123 is in A3, and so on. So Excel assumes that we want to calculate A1 through A5. The colon basically means through when using formulas in Excel. If we wanted to change it, we could simply type in the corresponding reference cells. But since we do want to calculate A1 through A5, we just click OK. And now we see the sum of the column of numbers is 385. Now, the beauty of using Microsoft Excel for formulas is the what if function. Because we calculated references or cell references instead of the exact numbers, we could change numbers in the cell and the calculation will change accordingly. So right now we're at 385 for the sum. If I change 45 to 55, notice now how the sum changes to 395. Moving on to something just a tiny bit more complicated. This time we're actually going to type in our formula. And the way we tell Excel that we're using formulas is to type the equal sign. And in this example, I want to subtract the B column from the A column. And I can actually type in my cell references. I can type equal B1 minus A1, and that will get my formula. But when the formulas start getting more complicated, it's easier to make mistakes. So I prefer pointing to my reference rather than typing in my reference. So I'm going to click type the equal sign, and then I click in A1, and notice how A1 goes into my calculation. Then I hit the minus sign on my keyboard, which is just a dash, and then I click in the cell that I want to subtract, which is B1. And once I can see my formula here and up here, and once I have my formula the way I want it, I hit enter to make the calculation. And notice the formula is still there, A1 minus B1, but the answer to A1 minus B1 is 30. Now, I don't need to type that every time to calculate these other numbers in the column. I can copy that formula all the way down the column here. And how I do that is I hover my mouse over the field handle, which is at the bottom right, the little square. When my mouse turns into crosshairs, then I left click, hold, and drag. So let's take a look at the calculations I have here. This is the cell that I entered manually, A1 minus B1. And then notice this first cell that I copied. It's actually A2 minus B2, which is this set of numbers. And the next cell is A3 minus B3. Excel assumed the numbers that I wanted calculated, and it copied accordingly. Let's move on to something a bit more complicated. Let's say that I want to calculate employee hours, and I have the times they signed in and out. I would probably want to subtract the time out minus time in. So I will start with my equal sign so Excel knows that I'm entering a formula. And I'll probably want to subtract the time out number minus the time in number. And I hit enter. And look, we have a slight problem. Excel assumed that I'm still entering time data. It formatted the cell exactly the same as these cells. So what I need to do here is change the format. So right now this cell is in time format. I want to change it to a number format. So I click in the cell, and from my home tab, I go to, in the cell group, I go to format. I go down to the last one, format cells. And notice right now the format is in time. I want to change it to a number. And right now it assumes I want 2 decimal places. I could change that if I wanted to, but I'll go ahead and leave that. I'm going to click OK. And notice that I get a 0.33. Now that's still not exactly what I want. But if you take a look at what 0.33 is, and if you look at the time here, we know the person actually worked 8 hours. So what we actually have here is a percentage of a total day. So basically 1/3 of 24. So we need to figure out a calculation that will get us 8 hours. I actually need this number times 24 to get the number of hours worked. So I'm going to create this formula the same way I would in any mathematical equation. I want to subtract first, and what goes in parentheses is what's calculated first. I'm going to put the subtraction in parentheses. So basically what I'm going to calculate is C2 minus B2 first. Then I'm going to multiply that by 24. And the asterisk is for multiplication in Excel, so I click the asterisk and I type 24 and I hit enter. And now I get 8 hours. And even though 8 shows here, my actual formula is the time out minus the time in times 24. And notice if the person changes their time out, let's say I'm going to change it to 3 p.m., then the 8 changes to 7 because of the what if calculations in Excel. So now that we have our calculation just as we want it, we can copy it down the column here. And just like before, we hover our mouse over the field handle till it turns into crosshairs. Left click, hold, and drag. And now we have the hours worked for each employee. And notice how the calculations change. C3 minus B3 times 24. Now the 24 will stay the same each time because it's not a cell reference, it's just a number. But notice the cell references change. C4 minus B4 and C5 minus B5. So far we've just looked at some very basic things like addition, subtraction, multiplication. But there are many options to choose from when making formulas. And as you can see under the formula group, there are several subsections under each section. And the workers who are keeping track of student data might find the STAT formulas very useful. And for more information on formulas, users can click this question mark at the top right, type in formulas, and hit enter, and there's more information here.